I remember the exact moment it started, and the strange part is, nothing felt wrong. In fact, it felt easier. That should have been my first warning. It was a normal Tuesday, the kind that blends into every other day when you're working too much and thinking too little. I was sitting in my car outside the office, staring at the building like it had personally offended me. I didn't hate my job. That's what I used to tell people. I mean, it's stable, I'd say. Good pay, decent people. And technically, all of that was true. But there was this quiet pressure I couldn't explain. Not stress exactly, more like a constant low-level tension. Like something in my life was slightly off, but I couldn't pinpoint where. I remember thinking, this is just how adulthood feels. That was the assumption I built everything on. Routine became my comfort. Wake up, check my phone, rush through breakfast, sit on a screen for 8 hours, come home too tired to question anything. And every now and then there would be this thought, small, almost unnoticeable. Is this really it? But I got good at ignoring it. Everyone does, eventually. The first real shift came through someone else. His name was Daniel. He joined our team about 6 months after I started. Quiet guy, didn't talk much, but he paid attention to everything. At first, I didn't think much of him. He did his work, kept to himself, left on time. No complaints, no drama. But over time, I started noticing small things. He didn't rush in the mornings. He didn't stay late just to look busy. And the weirdest part, he didn't seem drained. I remember one afternoon, we were both in the break room. I was scrolling through my phone, half eating something I didn't even taste. He asked me, casually, "Do you actually like this?" I looked up. "Like what?" "This," he said, gesturing around. "Your day." It wasn't a deep question, not the way he asked it, but something about it stayed with me. I shrugged it off. "It's fine, it's work." He nodded like he expected that answer. Then he said something I didn't fully understand at the time. Fine becomes permanent if you're not careful. I laughed a little. That's just life, right? He didn't argue, just gave a small nod and went back to his coffee. And that was it. Or at least that's what I thought. A few weeks later, something changed, but not in a dramatic way. It was subtle. I started choosing the easier version of everything. At work, I stopped pushing for ideas. If something was good enough, I left it there. At home, I stopped calling people back. Messages would sit unread longer. Conversations became shorter. Even small things, like taking the longer way home just to avoid traffic, I stopped doing them. I told myself I was just being efficient, but if I'm honest, I was avoiding effort, avoiding friction, avoiding anything that required me to think too deeply about my life. And at first, it felt good. Less stress, less pressure, fewer expectations. I remember thinking, why didn't I do this sooner? Everything became quieter, simpler, almost peaceful. But then something strange started happening. Not outside, inside. I began losing interest in things I used to care about. Not all at once, just little pieces at a time. Music didn't feel the same. Conversations felt repetitive. Even weekends started to blur together. I'd sit there, scrolling endlessly, not really looking for anything. Just passing time. And the worst part, I didn't feel bad about it. I just didn't feel much at all. One evening, I ran into Daniel again in the parking lot. He was packing his car, a couple of boxes in the backseat. "Are you leaving?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "Got a new job." I was surprised. That was fast. He smiled. "Not really. I've been thinking about it for a while." I hesitated for a second, then asked, "Why?" He looked at me, not in a judgmental way, just curious. I didn't want fine to become my life. That sentence hit me differently this time. Maybe because I had been living in fine for months without noticing. Or maybe because something in me already knew he was right. I forced a small laugh. Sounds risky. He nodded. It is. Doesn't that bother you? Yeah, but staying the same bothers me more. We stood there for a few seconds, neither of us saying anything. Then he added, almost as an afterthought, most people don't fall apart because of one bad decision. It's usually a series of small ones that feel harmless. I didn't respond, but I remember thinking about that sentence the entire drive home. The real turning point didn't come from a big event. It came from a quiet realization. A few weeks after Daniel left, I was sitting at my desk staring at my screen when I noticed something strange. I couldn't remember the last time I felt excited. Not stressed, not tired, excited. It sounds like a small thing, but it unsettled me more than anything else. I tried to think back. Weeks? Months? Nothing came up. That's when it hit me. I hadn't just made my life easier. I had slowly removed everything that made it meaningful. Every choice I made to avoid effort, avoid discomfort, avoid risk had taken something with it. And because none of those choices hurt in the moment, I never questioned them. That realization didn't fix anything immediately. If anything, it made things worse at first. Because now I could see it, the pattern, the way I'd been drifting, the way fine had quietly turned into emptiness. I remember sitting in my apartment that night thinking, how did I get here without noticing? But deep down, I knew the answer. It wasn't one decision. It was 100 small ones, each one reasonable, each one harmless, each one easy to justify. The consequences weren't loud. There was no dramatic breakdown, no big failure, just a slow, quiet disconnect from my own life. I started noticing it in conversations. People would talk and I'd nod, but I wasn't really there. I noticed it in my thoughts. Everything felt flat. Even things that should have mattered didn't feel urgent anymore. And that scared me more than anything else, because it meant I was losing something I couldn't easily get back. The shift didn't come from motivation. It came from discomfort, the kind you can't ignore anymore. I started asking myself questions I had been avoiding. When did I stop caring? What did I trade for comfort? And was it worth it? The answers weren't clear, but the direction was. I had to start choosing differently. Not big, dramatic changes, just small ones, intentional ones, uncomfortable ones. The first thing I did was simple. I said yes to something I would have normally avoided, a small project at work that required extra effort. Nothing special, but it forced me to engage again, to think, to care. And it felt difficult. Not overwhelming, just unfamiliar, like using a muscle I hadn't used in a long time. Then I started paying attention to my habits, the way I filled silence, the way I avoided effort, the way I defaulted to comfort. And slowly, I began to interrupt those patterns, choosing presence over distraction, effort over ease, growth over comfort. Not perfectly, not consistently, but intentionally. What surprised me most wasn't how hard it was how different everything started to feel. Not instantly, but gradually. Conversations became more real. Time felt more noticeable. Even small moments started to carry weight again. And for the first time in a long while, I felt something close to excitement. That's when I understood what Daniel meant. Fine isn't neutral. It's a direction. And if you follow it long enough without questioning it, you don't just stay where you are. You slowly lose parts of yourself. Looking back, the choice that affected me the most wasn't a big one. It was the decision to stop challenging my own life, to accept comfort without questioning the cost, to choose ease over meaning. And the reason it was so dangerous is because it didn't hurt immediately. It felt good, safe, even smart, until it wasn't. Now I notice those choices differently, the small ones, the ones that seem insignificant, because I know they're not. they shape everything, not overnight, but over time. I still think about that day in the parking lot sometimes, about what he said, about how easy it is to drift without realizing it. And I wonder, how many people are living in fine right now, not knowing what it's quietly taking from them?